inbound marketing presents an awesome opportunity, but there's also a lot of challenges that goes along with it. And I think a lot of those challenges are just how do you actually do all of the work? I think the tough part about inbound marketing is it takes a fair amount of work. You need to create content, you need to curate content, you need to have a lot of the tools and the interactions and the engagement. You need to do a lot of that stuff yourself. So it's not just like sort of buy it and forget it, which is what you can do with advertising. It really requires you to roll up your sleeves and do a lot of work. And I think the biggest challenge for most inbound marketers out there is just finding the time and actually being able to actually do the work.
But the two most important ones are creating engaging content and creating enough content. We found that they flipped. Actually, when we did this survey 2 years ago, we found that engaging content was consistently the thing that was reported. And then this past year, 2012, we found that creating enough content was the top challenge. So that was interesting in a way, but to me it kind of means that I think we're growing up. I think that marketers, that agencies are realizing that they can't just create a one and done content campaign. It becomes a lifelong effort, creating the kind of content that's going to engage your customers, that's going to delight them.
The social side of things, how do we take I can retweet things, I can share things on Facebook, I can use things on Pinterest, but how do I make it relevant to my audience and engage them in a conversation?
The biggest thing that they're doing, the thing that I'm most excited about, is I see a lot of companies hiring chief content officers, people that have the title that I've had for 10 years, or director of publications, or chief blogging officers, or editorial directors, whatever they want to call it. But they're hiring people to drive that bus, to create content consistently, to create engaging content, to build audience. So I think they're finally putting the systems in place that are allowing them to create enough content and create engaging content.
I sit down each month and I look at our keywords that I want to hit for that month. I come up with blog titles, and then from there I write them later in the month. But I very purposely sit down with like 30 blog titles and say, okay, here's our focus. So we have to be on point. So to create the content, it's being purposeful, it's being consistent, and it's getting it done no matter how you feel. There's no such thing as writer's block to me. You just have to do it, get over it. So that's one of the biggest ways that we solve that challenge.
And then hopefully use tools that sort of make your life as streamlined as possible, and not 20 or 30 different tools, but try to have a smaller set of tools, because I think that really helps you sort of streamline your time and make the most out of the time that you have.
Curation's not just copying somebody else's stuff and posting it, or just sharing things. It's about giving your own opinion. It's not just an aggregation. It's using someone else and using their stuff to spur something that you can offer of value to your readers. So for instance, what I typically will do is I'll look at the headlines. I love current events for marketing. Being in the housing industry, there's no shortage of that for us. So I can go and look at a news report and say, okay, here's what the New York Times says about these markets. So I put that in an article, and then I write around that. So that's a good way, from what I understand, to curate. So I can see that becoming more of a tool in an automated way. The smarter we get, the better our tools are, the more we can do that in a kind of a regular and respectful and ethical way. So I see curation as being probably one of the next tools as it comes to inbound marketing.
So I think that curation is an important part of the overall inbound marketing strategy. So certainly you need some of your own original content, but adding to that mix a lot of curated content as well can be really important. It's going to be hard to create enough of your own original content to be able to tweet 15 to 20 times a day, and you really can tweet that often because the shelf life of tweets is so short. So having curated content that you can publish within social media and other places helps just have you have more that you can publish out to your audience, and more things that they're going to be interested in. So I think curation can be a really important part of your overall inbound marketing strategy.
I think it can play two distinct roles, and actually I'll tell you how I use it just as an example with my work at MarketingProfs. I use it to listen. I think that's a really key piece of curation. So in other words, seeing what else people are publishing, what's being said, what are the hot buttons for marketers. It's kind of a way to prospect socially, prospect through your content to create more content that's engaging. So it's really using it for research, for listening, tapping into conversations that are happening and hearing what other people are talking about.